just bought that New Hampshire last week. Anyway, I recently made my first trip to New Hampshire to watch all the craziness that, you know, is the New Hampshire primaries. We went up Friday night. We saw Romney, Rudy, about 15 minutes of each, and it was time to leave. Saturday, we saw Obama, later on Bill Clinton for Hillary, and Sunday was Hillary, and at Keene, New Hampshire, we finished with the best for last. John Edwards was at the Keene University Sunday afternoon.
You know, here's the truth. What you find out is when people understand what you stand for and what you're fighting for, things shift. I have fought in the trenches for my entire adult life against irresponsible corporate action. What you just heard described happening to Natalie, that's a perfect example of complete corporate irresponsibility. All about money, all about the bottom line, all the time. They're not worried about how your children are going to grow up in America and how your grandchildren are going to grow up in America. They're worried about corporate profit. And unless and until they have a stranglehold on this democracy. They do. And they infect everything. You can have no doubt about that. It's the reason we don't have universal health care. It's the reason we're not working on a huge moral issue, preserving the planet. Global warming, the oil companies, the gas companies, the power companies, and their lobbying in Washington. It's the reason we have both an economically unfair and in some ways an immoral trade policy that allows American companies to pick up, leave here, take jobs overseas, and in some cases to run sweatshops, in other cases to hire children to do their work, and in almost all cases to hire people to do their work with no labor standards, no environmental standards, for 10 cents or less on the dollar. It's the reason because they have pressed this agenda and they have gotten their way over and over and over. A whole bunch of things that we need to do. Number one, we need a different trade policy in this country. We need, instead of asking, is this good for the profits of big companies, which is what's been asked in the past. That's where NAFTA and CAFTA and all these bad trade deals came from. We should be asking, is this good for working middle-class Americans? And does it have real labor and environmental standards? And does the President of the United States enforce those standards? And we also ought to get rid of these tax loopholes that give tax breaks to American companies sending jobs overseas. This is insanity, and this needs to be brought to an end. I think it says something about the character of America, what we're willing to do to give a real chance to the least fortunate among us. And I think when we don't do it, it says a bad thing about us.